Will the audience please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This morning will be delivered by the Reverend Ensign Leininger, pastor of Morgan Park Presbyterian Church. Reverend Leininger.
We address prayer to God, God who has made us and given us this wonderful universe in whom is truth and goodness. Let us pray. Almighty and Creator God, we thank you for bringing us to this day when we celebrate the accomplishments of this past school year. Especially we thank you for the students who've completed their course, for parents and teachers and mentors who rejoice in the success of these students. We thank you for minds, feelings, physical health and strength that enable us to serve one another. We remember the whole human family to which we belong and rejoice in the various cultures which enrich our lives, which gives us songs to sing and dreams to dream. We ask, O God, that war, violence, and injustice be removed, and in their place that there be understanding and peace. In the awareness of your presence, we ask that we will be kept from evil and taught the way to justice. Amen.
You may be seated. Good morning. On behalf of the members of the Board of Trustees, the faculty, and the student body of Morgan Park Academy, I welcome you to these 123rd commencement exercises. We're especially pleased today to have in our audience many of our distinguished alumni and other friends. The class of 1996 numbers 46 students, including one student from Costa Rica. 11 of them entered the academy in the pre-first or first grade, and 20 of them graduated 4 years ago from our 8th grade. This class has much to boast of. 5 students who gained National Merit Competition recognition, 3 students who were honored in the National Achievement Scholarship Program for outstanding Negro students, 11 Illinois State Scholars. Over 60% of the class members have received varsity athletic letters in one or more sports, and 14 of them have been named all-conference athletes. Class members have received service and citizenship awards, achievement and leadership awards, and numerous scholarship awards. And they have been offered admission at many of the leading colleges and universities in the country. Both individually and as a group, they represent some of the brightest and best students in the entire Chicagoland area. It is true, of course, that their years at the Academy have not always been easy. Like teenagers everywhere, some of them have experienced academic difficulties and personal frustrations, and some of them have had an unusual number of conflicts with administrators, with their teachers, and with their parents and their peers. But they are survivors, and in the competitive world of college and beyond, which they now are about to enter, we are confident that not only will they continue to survive, but that they will also be recognized as leaders in their generation. For all of their accomplishments to date, I commend them. And on their commencement day, I would like to take this opportunity to wish them health and happiness and success in all of their future endeavors. Just a year ago, the Morgan Park Academy Hall of Fame was established. And in that first year, we recognized for induction into the Hall of Fame 6 persons. We are very happy today to induct 4 persons into the Morgan Park Academy Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame has been established to recognize distinguished alumni and friends of the Academy who have demonstrated outstanding achievement throughout their careers, who have contributed significantly to their profession or career area, and whose personal lifestyles exemplify the high standards of moral and ethical conduct that Morgan Park Academy strives to inculcate. The first of those to be so honored is Vicki Hovannessian. Vicki is the first person to be inducted who is not an alumnus of the school.
And also, she is the first woman to be included in the Hall of Fame. Her induction was already announced at our Salute to Excellence celebration several weeks ago, but we wanted to include her today in this more formal induction ceremony.
The other 3 inductees are all Academy graduates, one from the early military years, one from the transition years, and one from the post-military years. As I reviewed the information regarding these 3 men, I was struck by the fact that they hold 4 things in common. First, they were all solid students academically, carrying a B average or better during their time at the Academy. Second, they were all participants on 2 or more athletic teams and involved as well in other school activities. Third, they have all been very successful in their chosen professional careers. And finally, all 3 of these gentlemen have been extensively and impressively involved in community and volunteer service, with significant accomplishments in a variety of service areas. A more detailed listing of the many accomplishments of all of these inductees has been provided for you in your program, so I won't go into detail in this regard. In recognition of selection as members of the Hall of Fame, we will present each of them with a chair which bears the school logo, their name, and for the alums, their year of graduation. Vicki Hovannessian has already received her chair. One of the chairs is being shipped to Houston, and the other 2 are here today. Now, as I call each name, I would like the recipients to come forward to receive their plaques. An identical plaque, which will be exhibited in Alumni Hall, an identical plaque will be exhibited in Alumni Hall as a reminder both of our distinguished past and as an inspiration to present and future students of Morgan Park Academy. Our first recipient, Vicki Hovannessian. I first became acquainted with the Hovannessian family back in the fall of 1978 when their son Armin entered our 5th grade, followed shortly thereafter by his 2 beautiful sisters, Annie and Eileen. All 3 have now graduated and gone on to college and careers, But Vicki and her husband, Dr. Rafi Hovnessian, then joined the ranks of alumni parents and have remained faithful in their support of the Academy ever since.
Vicki served as a member of the Morgan Park Academy Board of Trustees from 1984 to 1995. It was during her tenure as a trustee that Vicki initiated the idea of an elegant downtown dinner dance as a major fundraising activity for the Academy. The event was a huge success from its inception, and today, 10 years later, we can report that over its 10-year history, Salute has raised over $1 million and has been a significant factor in the ongoing growth and development of Morgan Park Academy.
I won't, as I said, read the listing of Vicki's many accomplishments, but I would like to mention just briefly her many years of dedicated service to the Academy, to her church, to the Museum of Contemporary Art, and especially to the Armenian General Benevolent Fund. Through her efforts, over $2 million was raised for an international humanitarian relief program for Armenia. And Vicki has already received the Heritage Award from the Illinois Democratic Council on Ethnic Americans for raising over $1 million for the Armenian earthquake relief. Congratulations, Vicki. Would you come forward, receive your plaque, and would you also introduce your husband, please, and say a few words to us?
Before I start my few words, I'm honored to introduce to you the anchor of our family, the person I admire and I adore, a person who has stayed by me through thick and thin. I'm proud to introduce to you my better half, Dr. Rafi Hovnessian. Rafi? Thank you for all your support. Headmaster Jones, fellow honorees, 1996 graduates, family and dear friends. Today is a very special day for me as I accept this honor of being added to the Morgan Park Academy's Hall of Fame. During my years as an active volunteer and fundraiser for MPA, I've always had the picture in my mind of the fine young men and women who come here for the excellent education this academy provides. The work that all of us do as MPA volunteers is done to enhance the mission of the faculty and staff, and most directly, you, the students. It gives me special pride and satisfaction to share this day with you, the 1996 graduates, who personified the future for me. As a parent of 3 alumni who have graduated from college and professional schools, I am most grateful to the Academy of the solid foundation the Academy granted them in being mature, productive, and service-oriented citizens. I hope that each of you will feel the intense connection with the Academy in the years to come that I feel today. And it is incumbent on each of you graduates to keep the tradition of the school and support it in the future in all your endeavors. Keep the eternal MPA flame alive in you. You will find that some days your intellect will rule the choices you make, and on others, your heart will lead you. Today, my heart is filled with joy and pride at this great honor. Thank you, Headmaster Jones. Thank you, the Board of Trustees. Thank you, MPA.
Our second honoree today is Roy M. Schonbrot. Roy entered the lower school of MPMA in 1929 and graduated from the Academy in 1936. The handsome young man depicted in the skirmisher that year apparently went by the nickname of Nathan and distinguished himself as a scholar in chemistry. He achieved the rank of lieutenant,
was a grenadier, and was editor-in-chief of the school's yearbook. Roy's character is perhaps best expressed in a statement he himself made on his resume, and I quote, "No one ever gave me a medal, but I have always enjoyed giving whatever I have to give." We'll try to make up for that now, Roy. Congratulations. Won't you come up and please introduce your wife?
May I introduce my sweetheart, my friend of 47 years, Barbara. Headmaster Jones and faculty, students of Morgan Park Academy, parents and friends, I am extremely grateful to be included in the Morgan Park Academy Hall of Fame. It's a major honor, and I'm delighted. Thanks for implying that I rate with the likes of Captain Taylor and the other notable heavyweights. My few remarks today are dedicated to those young men of my class, 36, who never grew old, who gave their lives for their country in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Morgan Park Military Academy was my home and my family from the fall of 1929 until I graduated in June of 36. I have never ceased being grateful for the education, for the discipline, and for the friendships found on this lovely campus. My preparatory education here became one of the most prized and best loved possessions of my life. My sincere wish for all of the young people here today is that you will come to appreciate more every year the preciousness of what you have been given at Morgan Park. Now, for the things I should have done 60 years ago and didn't, I ask of the graduates of 1996, on your behalf and in memory of my class, after fond farewells to your classmates, go to your teachers and tell them of your love and your respect and express your gratitude for their efforts in your behalf. Thank them for their lifelong commitment to giving of themselves to their students. And here or in the privacy of your home, give your loved ones some huge hugs and let your family know that you are grateful and do appreciate their love for you, proven by giving you the priceless gift of a superb education. Express your thanks for their sacrifices. Assure them that you will continue to make them proud. Again, thank you for this honor. Congratulations, best wishes. Thank you. Thank you, Roy. The next honoree is a member of the class of 1960, Mr. Michael McClure. The editor of the 1960 yearbook was much given to sarcasm. Alongside Michael's picture is the statement, "A good student when he's awake." Who was that editor, and where is he now? Mike's successful career demonstrates how wide awake he has been in the years since that time. My Houston family isn't thrilled with the planned departure of the Oilers, but with Michael in charge of the logistics, I'm sure the move will be carried out smoothly. Congratulations, Mike. Won't you come forward and introduce your wife for us as well?
Thank you, David. Is not lost on me that as I came here today, it was nice to reflect back that there was someone who has been a link between that year of 1960 and today, and certainly that is the headmaster of this outstanding school, David Jones. A link that has been very important for me during most of my adult life is my wife, Brenda, and I would like her to stand now. She's been my wife for 31 years, and over the last 12 months, as we have gone through a transition between Tennessee and Texas, she has certainly had to adjust to the fact that I have been gone a great deal, and the biggest test we've had is to make sure that we make 32 years. But I will say this, that, you know, when you talk about partners, friends, the mother of your children, I have been very, very blessed, and I thank you, dear. Headmaster Jones, distinguished trustees and faculty, proud parents and friends, and the members of the graduating class of 1996. I am deeply honored and quite humble in accepting this induction into the Academy's Hall of Fame. It is indeed a very special recognition for me. As I reflect back to the year 1960, and as we drove to the neighborhood this morning, a few things reminded me how much things have changed, but at the same time, how much they have remained the same. Yes, Red's is still located on 111th Street, and I'm sure some heartburn is still obtained over there occasionally. We were the class that made the transition. The military school was brought to an end in 1959, and my class of 1960 was the first class to be strictly a college preparatory school. There were prophets of doom in 1960 who predicted that it would not work and that the school would not survive. I suspect if you looked at enrollments, that was probably the all-time low. It was the year that we went from the transition from a great World War II hero who was completing his term as President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, and how interesting to reflect that a candidate this year, this will probably be the last time that there will be a veteran of World War II as a candidate for president. So over that 36-year period, we have always had at least one person who served in World War II as a candidate or as a president. Because of the nature of my profession, I certainly must reflect on the fact that my senior year was the last time that a Chicago baseball team won a pennant and have performed in the World Series. And little did we think that was possible as we sat in the library listening to the White Sox-Dodgers World Series back in the fall of 1959. The other link has, of course, been David Jones. And as I mentioned, there were many who thought that the Academy would not survive, but the Academy did survive. And today, it's bigger, but more importantly, it's better, and meeting an even more critical need to provide quality college preparatory education to the leaders of tomorrow as we look forward to the 21st century, now just so very, very close. Later in the program, an award will be presented on behalf of Henry W. Kennedy. And as I think back and reflect over the things that have been important in my life, family first and foremost, friends. And Henry Kennedy was one of my late father's dearest friends. And my late father was a member of the trustees, board of trustees of this academy. And they were very, very important because they sacrificed in order to provide the quality education that I obtained, and the quality education that those of you in the class of 1996 will carry forward with you today, along with your dreams, your hopes, and your aspirations. Finally, when I talk about friendship, it would be remiss of me not to mention the person who was the most instrumental in my attending here other than my father. And that was Thomas Whitehouse Gifford, a member of the Academy class of 1959, and for more than 40 years, my best friend. Through through growing up in the Brainerd neighborhood and attending Fort Dearborn Elementary School together, going to the same church. We, after graduation, went separate ways. He came to Morgan Park Military, and for 3 years I went to another prep school. And then he came to me as I wanted to transfer my senior year and said, come to the academy. And I came here, and I later went to DePaul University, where we were fraternity brothers and went to school together. And when he became a lawyer, he introduced me to my wife, and we grew together through our adult years. And my late friend, Tom, died 2 years ago, so I will conclude my remarks with a poem which I think tells about all the things as we look forward to the future, but more importantly, as you look to your future, young graduates. This is a poem by Isla Pascal Richardson, and it's to those I love. If I should ever leave you whom I love, to go along the silent way, grieve not, nor speak of me with tears, but laugh and talk of me as if I were beside you there. I'd come, could I find a way, but would not tears and grief be barriers? And when you hear a song or see a bird I love, please do not let the thought of me be sad, for I am loving you just as I always have. You were so good to me. There were so many things I wanted still to do, so many things to say to you. Remember that I did not fear. It was just leaving you that was so hard to face. We cannot see beyond, but this I know. I loved you so, 'twas heaven here with you. Thank you very much, and best wishes to all of those in the class of 1996.
Our final inductee is Mr. Fred Montgomery. Fred is one of 5 siblings, all of whom graduated from Morgan Park Academy. Besides calling attention to his good grades, Fred's high school record refers to his very active social and athletic life. His yearbook write-up was truly prophetic when it said, Fred's friendly attitude will carry him a long way. We know that along with that friendly attitude, Fred has contributed a lot of hard work and many hours of community service. Congratulations, Fred. We're proud of you. Why don't you come forward and introduce Michelle and Phyllis? I believe both of them are here. Fred?
Thank you. It's going to be very easy for me to say that if it hadn't been for Morgan Park Academy, I wouldn't be married to my wife, Michelle, because we met at a high school reunion here. So I would like to introduce my wonderful wife, Michelle. And also, I would like to introduce my mother, Phyllis, who is here. If it hadn't been for her and my dad, of course, they wouldn't have sent me to the school. And I'm very pleased that she's able to be here. We live just about a block and a half away over at 112th and Oakley, so I didn't have many excuses for being late to school. But that didn't stop me from being late, I guess. I would like to say that it's a tremendous honor and pleasure to receive this award. Morgan Park Academy has played a very important role in my life. And perhaps the best aspect of receiving this award is that it gives me an opportunity to express my appreciation for the wonderful experience that I've had here. And it also gives me a chance to say to the graduates that your experience with the Academy will not end on this day. In addition to thanking my mom and dad for sending me and my brothers and sisters to the school here, I would like to thank Dave Jones, who was my high school English teacher, and his wife, Lee, for all of the talent and dedication which they have brought to this school and community for so many years. And I would like to thank all the other faculty members and administration. Winnie Theodore, Alice Collar, Lillian Delaney, Andy Bitta was my father-in-law, John Torres and Dr. Brown, and so many, many others who have made this school a success. Many others, as well as myself, truly appreciate what you've done. And to the graduates, I can't begin to tell you how many times in my life I have thought of the different people I've met at the school, and I've thought of the different things that I've learned and the things that have happened and the impact that all of this has had on me. And as you grow older, I'm sure that you will appreciate even more the value of the experience that you have here. And to echo a little bit of Roy's comments, I hope you are all very grateful to your parents for sending you here, and realize how fortunate you were to have the faculty members who are so capable and also so very interested in you and how you develop. And I hope you realize how fortunate you are that you have each other. There's one piece of advice I'd like to share with you, and also one worry which I have. My piece of advice is to go to your high school reunions. You can never tell who you'll meet, and it can turn out to be a wonderful experience. And the one worry that I have is that somewhere in my short remarks I've made a grammatical mistake, and my high school English teacher is going to point it out to me. Thank you again for the award, and congratulations to the graduates, and good luck.
These Hall of Fame plaques have an area upstairs in Alumni Hall where they are on display. But earlier this week, right in that area, the seniors put a lot of books there. And so instead of having them on display up there today, we have mounted them on the board, the 6 from a year ago. And I'm going to ask at the very end of this ceremony if temporarily the 4 honorees will return their plaques to that board for those of you that would like to see them. And then right after that, they may have the plaques back. Had we instituted this Hall of Fame many years ago, I'm sure it would be a long, long listing at this point. And it didn't seem appropriate for us to overlook a number of people in the history of Morgan Park Academy, or Morgan Park Military Academy, who were very instrumental in helping the Academy to become what it is today. And so we have this year established a Memorial Hall of Fame. And the names of the first 8 persons that we have included for this year in the Hall of Fame are in your program. I would just like to read their names if I may. Captain Roy S. McIntosh, Captain Francis Gray, Martin J. Wolf, Ira M. Price, Owen F. Price, Lieutenant Colonel Henry P. Welton, Henry T. Lee, and F.B. Withington, Ted, my predecessor as headmaster. We honor these individuals today as well. We will now have the class oration by the valedictorian of the senior class, Deepa Matthew.
Guests, respected teachers, parents, and friends. I stand here before you as a member of a remarkable class of talented athletes, exceptional scholars, and outstanding musicians. This group has been brought together for the past 4 to learn and to grow, not only as students, but also as individuals. This graduation ceremony marks the end of a very important period in our lives, but also merits a bit of reflection on these 4 years. To whom or to what do we owe our success at Morgan Park Academy? First of all, we as students are indebted to the teachers at MPA for their continued guidance and understanding. As freshmen, we came to this school with little knowledge and even less maturity. The teachers faced a difficult task, stamping out our ignorance, as Doc Brown liked to say. We needed understanding, discipline, encouragement, and hope. Our teachers provided all this and more. They took a special interest in us and were always willing to listen to our problems, whether they were school-related or not. They have been strong role models, always tempering discipline with a sense of humor. On any given day, our calculus class would be toiling away at integrals or limits, but Mr. Torres would always find a way to lighten the mood with a joke and a smile. Many English classes have been spent listening in wonder to one of Mr. Crisberg's adventurous stories. And only Mr. Joseph would take his students to the playground to think for 41 minutes. The atmosphere in these classrooms was always welcoming and never threatening. We, as students, were expected to put forth great effort, but the teachers imparted a wealth of knowledge in return. Just as teachers have provided guidance to this senior class, our parents have also been an integral part of our success here. Education does not end in the classroom, but continues into the home. Our parents have provided a strong anchor for us with their advice, encouragement, and support. And finally, we owe our success to each other. I can honestly say that I have learned as much from my fellow classmates as I have sitting at a desk. Where would I be without Matt Quinn's vast knowledge of cars or Bernie's unique philosophies on life? Crudy has taught me more new words than the dictionary, and from Mungai I have learned how to speak without saying a word. The diversity of this class enables such an exchange of knowledge to take place. Each person is a unique talent with special interests, strengths, and weaknesses. More importantly, students were willing to share their talents for the benefit of a fellow classmate. No one has ever been selfish with their gifts. This senior class leaves MPA a bit wiser than when we came in. This school has taught us to think for ourselves, to analyze what is put before us, and to question those assumptions we have long taken for granted. More than grades and facts and formulas, this school has provided a nurturing environment which emphasizes learning for its own sake. We will move on to college, graduate school, and the workforce, but we can be confident that we have been well prepared for the future, and with God's help, will succeed in all of our endeavors. I feel uncomfortable standing here in the role of a seer or even as a humble giver of advice. I am very conscious of what I don't know, so I would like to conclude with a heartfelt thank you to all those, parents, the entire faculty, and of course classmates, who have taught me more than they can know. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa. Our commencement speaker today is Dr. Paula Wolf, President of Governor State University, the only upper division university in Illinois. Governor State University serves over 6,000 primarily adult undergraduate transfer or returning students and those seeking master's degrees in the South Suburban and Chicago area. Dr. Wolf holds a Bachelor of Arts magna cum laude from Smith College, where she graduated Phi Beta Kappa, and an MA and PhD from the University of Chicago in political theory and public administration. Her teaching includes having been a visiting lecturer at Northern Illinois University in Public Administration in 1972. She then became a tenured professor at Governor State in the College of Business and Public Service between 1972 and 1976. More recently, Dr. Wolf lectured at the Irving B. Harris School of Public Policy between March 91 and June 92, and she now teaches public policy at Governor State at least once a year. Between 1977 and 1991, Dr. Wolf served as Director of Policy and Planning for Governor James R. Thompson. She directed development and implementation of policy for all areas of state government, serving with her staff as liaison to 57 state agencies and chairing 6 sub-cabinets composed of their directors, representing 67,000 state employees with over a $25 million budget. In 1990 and 91, she directed Governor Jim Edgar's transition team, as she had Governor James R. Thompson's team in 1976-77. Prior to her appointment at Governor State, she was a visiting fellow at the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. She also established a not-for-profit collaborative serving 4 pilot sites in the Chicago Public Schools. Dr. Wolf is a member of numerous boards and civic activities, including the University of Chicago Laboratory School Board, the Aerial Capital Management Board, the Joyce Foundation, the University of Chicago Hospital Board, and the Johnson Wax Foundation. She is married to Wayne W. Whalen, a lawyer, and has 4 children. I'm very pleased to welcome her here today, Dr. Paula Wolf.
Thank you very much. Honored graduates, distinguished guests on the platform, Headmaster Jones, family and friends. I have to start, I apologize, with a confession and a brief commercial. Here's the confession. When Headmaster Jones called and asked if I would be willing to speak today, I didn't answer him right away. I had to go home and talk to my 4 children. I have stood in weather which makes this look wonderful, on your soccer fields and your baseball diamonds and in your gym, while my children and you and your fellow colleagues from Morgan Park have played vicious, vicious sports games. So I asked my family if it was okay if I came today. And actually I was delighted by the response, because they had a lot of schools that were on the no list, but Morgan Park was on the yes list. They describe you as some of the best athletes, the best sports, and people who are fun to compete with. And win or lose, everybody got along. So I'm honored to be here. And my commercial is very short. You can't be a college president without making a commercial. None of you can come to Governor State yet. You have to get 60 credit hours. It's your family and friends that I'm speaking to. We have 39-degree programs. Our average undergraduate age is 35 years old. So if there's anybody here who needs a master's or to complete a bachelor's, I'll see you after the ceremony. We talk about graduation as a passage, and this reminds me of a recent story I heard. There was a captain on a boat, and he was going along on his trip in the middle of the night, and suddenly up ahead he saw a flashing light. And he turned to his signalman, who also had a light, and he said, "You signal to them that they are in our way, and they must turn 10 degrees to the south." So the signalman dutifully signaled. Coming back from the light in the other direction was another signal, and it said, "You are in our way. You turn 10 degrees to the north." And the captain, who was not a particularly flexible person, turned to the signalman and he said, "Now you tell them that we're on a 20-ton tanker and they better turn 10 degrees to the south." So the signalman did it. I knew I'd messed it up. He said to the signalman, "You tell them I'm a captain and that they better change their course 10 degrees to the south." Coming back from the other direction was the signal that said, "Well, I'm a midshipman. You better turn 10 degrees to the north." Captain then said, this is a 20-ton tanker, and you tell him that, and you tell him to turn. No, never mind, I'll do it. And he grabbed it, and he signaled to them. He said, now you turn 10 degrees to the south. And the light came back, and it said, you better turn 10 degrees to the north. I'm in a lighthouse. And that lighthouse is actually a very good metaphor for me to launch my more serious remarks today. The lighthouse has always represented isolation and separateness. And there's a very extensive discussion going on today among commentators on American culture about the disintegration of the civil society, the lack of connectedness or the isolation among people in our country. And a book that's frequently discussed in this regard is entitled Bowling Alone. It gets its title from a study in which the author recounts that it was discovered while there are more people bowling today than ever before in the United States, there are fewer people in bowling leagues. From this and many other examples, the author extrapolates about the decay of those neighborhood community connections which used to hold the society together and created a set of values held commonly within the American culture. And I'm particularly ecstatic today to be able to give these remarks because it gives me an opportunity to be contrary and flatly oppose this theory about a new and altered course of American history. I would say, in fact, that the theory that's being discussed here was almost inevitable, and that you graduates here at Morgan Park Academy represent an extremely vivid example that I would choose to refute and to amend that theory. I was trained as a political theorist, so I have to apologize again. For good or for evil, I see everything in the world through that lens. So let me explain how I come to my perverse conclusion about bowling alone, starting from some ideas about political theory. The United States is unique, and I use that word in the real sense in deference to the English instructor, meaning there is no other like it. We are a country made up of people without any common religious, ethical, ethnic, or tribal similarities. People came here or were brought here against their will under enormously different circumstances. Some came to escape religious persecution, some came to escape servitude, others came brought into servitude and slavery, and still others came with the expectation of escaping poverty and becoming wealthy. Some also came from a sense of adventure. But unlike any other country in the world, our government did not grow from our similarities and our traditions. It did not evolve from a common past. The government of the United States was designed, in fact, with one thing in mind: to govern a set of people who were bound by nothing other than that government. The government was formulated and was dependent on three fundamental principles. First, the governor would not impose traditions, religious values, or other such cultural requirements on its citizens. The purpose of government was to protect individual freedom of those citizens to be what they wanted to be, to practice their religion, to pursue their individual abilities and dreams within a loosely structured governmental system designed to protect our health and well-being and to keep us from doing harm to one another. Second, the government itself was designed and predicated on the notion that people who serve in governmental positions, for the most part, would be pursuing the self-interest of the citizens whom they were elected to represent. At the very beginning of our country, for example, it was acknowledged that different economic interests, the agricultural interests, the trading interests, and so forth, would expect something different from government. And if you were elected a representative from an agricultural district, your job, among other things, was to protect those agricultural interests. We all learned in our American government class about the checks and balances, the three branches of government, limitation on power by 2-, 4-, and 6-year terms, which were built into the Constitution at the federal and at the local level, in order to be sure that those interests that were represented in government were constantly checking one another, and the government could never be overpowered by one interest. And the sheer size of this country, its physical size, was extremely important. Our founders believed as a geographic entity that our country was big enough to house all of those varying interests, so they wouldn't be bumping up against each other, and so that the separate and personal interests of every individual and group would be permitted to exist undominated by another. Third, there was the notion that the main purpose of government, in addition to protecting individual interests, was to protect the country as a whole from foreign threat and domination from outside enemies. the government was to provide for our national defense. So, as you stand back and you look at what happened over the last 200 years, I would argue that we created a country in which the binding value was the value of separatism or isolation. Underlying American patriotism is a respect for individual freedom and for democracy, that system which allows us to have our interests correctly understood, expressed in government. There's no American value system that we could absolutely say transcends this. For example, when we learn of court cases in which there's disagreement about whether or not it's okay to burn the flag, probably the single most commonly respected and understood symbol of this country, I would argue that this is perfect evidence that we, as part of our system, are constantly debating and arguing about how to permit people to express their individual interests and freedom in a way that doesn't undercut, on the one hand, that right of expression or action, and on the other, that common value that binds us all together. It's almost a paradox. The thing that keeps us together is the tenet that we can be apart and that we can be different. So let's fast forward 200 years. While we continue to be fortunate enough to receive into our country continuing waves of people with different beliefs, traditions, and backgrounds, and governmentally we abolished slavery and granted the right to vote to more and more groups of people, within the nation, 3 additional things have happened which the founders of our country did not anticipate, and which you graduates are very familiar with. First, the vast geographic space of the country has shrunk, and I'm not talking about the California mudslides and the earthquakes. No longer are there individual isolated communities. If you fly over the northeast coast of the United States, for example, you see one megalopolis. You can't tell where Boston stops or Providence starts, where Stanford or Hartford are separated. Gary, Chicago, Kenosha, and Milwaukee merge. Individual ethnic groups that used to live separately and preserve their tradition in that way are geographically touching one another. Second, our economic interests are global. Our national defense still underlies our foreign policy, but interdependence across the world is inevitable. And third, groups which were formerly culturally isolated are now more likely to be culturally integrated in several ways. People of different backgrounds and faiths work together, go to school together, attend the same rock concerts, socialize, and marry. Our incredible technology has given us the capacity to see, begin to understand, and to communicate with groups with which our parents or our grandparents might have been completely unfamiliar. Movies, telephones, hundreds of cable channels, faxes, computer, internet, CD-ROMs permit us to overlap and to understand one another in ways that we never could have dreamed of in the past. You can log on and arrive at a chat group on the internet where you can talk about your most intimate and personal values with someone whose age, race, and religion you have no way of knowing unless you choose to share that information. And that person can be any place in the world. Well, you're asking yourself, what does this have to do with bowling alone? I would argue in some fundamental way, the government and the culture of this country was designed in the image of bowling alone. In fact, for the first time in our history, we are facing the reality that unless one makes a concerted effort to be isolated, to go to the lighthouse, one is caught in a society which automatically creates connections. They're hard to avoid, and there is a lot of group activity in this country, the likes of which have never been known before. I'd offer up 3 quick and strange examples. First, there are a series of highly organized, very intricate and effective economic and social organizations which are completely unsanctioned by law in the United States, yet are among the most powerful and cash replete in the country. Street gangs. For the first time in the last 15 years, when the New York Times began doing voter analysis of the presidential elections, it added a new category to its list of voting groups that used to include voters by age, geographic area, educational level, and race. Recently, the category of white, born-again Christians has been added. This group's self-identification indicates how people explain their affiliation and also their votes and their interests. And third, millions, and I mean millions of people, are shopping together on the Shoppers Television Network. It's not what we would have considered 20 years ago a community experience, Yet it is a common experience, reflective of shared values. But it's also not bowling alone. There are three disparate images, not necessarily reassuring, but indicating an American direction or a set of values. Would today's graduates please stand? I know you're not supposed to do this till later, but do it now for me, okay? Would you look at one another? And would you shake the hand of the person to your left and your right? You are it. You are the new American community, whether you bowl together or alone. In all the ways that you and your families may be historically separate and formally isolated from your fellow graduates, you now stand on the edge of the new American age, where that difference becomes the sameness, where the connections through knowledge, understanding, and the capacity to communicate through new and in some cases unimagined methods give you the keys to the American future. Because you've gone to school together, because you know one another, you know that regardless of your superficial differences, your sameness is by far much more dominant feature. You have, after all, shared all those wonderful math tests, those phenomenal all-nighters to write the history paper, and the glorious victories over U High. Your values have developed together, and I'm willing to bet the further you get from today, the more obvious your similarities will be. As you leave today and go forward into this new and exciting future, think of yourselves as the leaders of what I will call the new understanding. You have lived it. And think of what we are experiencing today as a kind of a hologram. Those trick pictures where if you focus your eyes one way, you see one picture, and if you adjust your eyes a different way, you see a different picture. I could never do them. In the old picture, we saw our isolation, and we saw our differences. In the new picture, we have to refocus our eyes, our hearts, and our souls, and we should be overwhelmed by our sameness, our values for respecting those differences. You've lived it, you've learned it, and you will be the people who will teach it to the rest of us and to the rest of the world. I wish you good luck. We're counting on you, and we all know that you're more than up to the challenge. Thank you for inviting me today. You may be seated.
Thank you, Dr. Wolf. During the course of the year, many awards are given to students, frequently as they earn them. About 2 weeks ago, we had an assembly during the day at which a large number of awards for service things and other achievements as well were presented. And last night at the Honors and Awards Assembly, numerous students were recognized for some of their outstanding achievements as well. But we always like to save some of the top awards for presentation at the commencement exercises. And we'll begin with certain academic awards, the presentation of which will be made by Dr. Michael Hannon, Upper School Principal. Dr. Hannon.
Each year at commencement, the upper school recognizes the top 3 scholars of the highest academic average for the current school year. As I call your name, please come forward and receive your medal. A bronze medal is awarded to the student with the 3rd highest academic standard. This year's recipient, Michael Danielevich. A silver medal is awarded to the student with the 2nd highest academic standing. This year's recipient, Mira Shah. gold medal is awarded to the student with the highest academic standing. This year's recipient, Ramesh Srinivasan. Additionally, those students who have the highest academic average for their respective classes will have their names placed on a plaque, which is located at the landing of the stairway of Alumni Hall. This year's academic leaders are, for 9th grade, Stephanie Triller; for 10th grade, Ramesh Srinivasan; for 11th grade, Leah Kincannon; and for 12th grade, Michael Danielakis.
Congratulations to all of those students. We have with us this morning Mr. Jack Lester, the Mount Greenwood Bank, who will make the presentation of the Michael A. Lombard Award. Mr. Lester.
Thank you, Dave. It's an honor to be here today to present the Michael A. Lombard Award. The Michael A. Lombard Award is presented annually to a junior member, class member who demonstrates excellence in both citizenship and in scholarship. This year's recipient has been enrolled at the Academy since the first grade and has consistently been a B+ student. He was elected the president of his 9th and 10th grade classes, and this year was elected vice president of the student council. He's also worked with all 3 of the student publications, the newspaper, the yearbook, and the literary magazine. In addition, this year's recipient has been a member of the Kiwanis Tea Club and has given service as a service volunteer. He's also been a member of the wrestling team and has worked on the staff of the campus radio station. This year's recipient is also known on campus for his extensive work with the drama club in numerous productions, but particularly this year in his role as the King in The King and I. He's a serious student, pursued interest in politics through both the Model United Nations and the Youth and Government Organization. Last year, he was the recipient of both the Hugh O'Brien Youth Foundation Award and the Kodak Young Leaders Award. The recipient this year also was recently elected to membership in the National Honor Society, which requires a student to demonstrate outstanding qualities in 4 areas: academics, character, service, and citizenship. So it's a great pleasure and honor that I'm able to announce this year's recipient of the Michael A. Lombard Award. He is the son of Mrs. Eleanor Morrow of Chicago, and it's Joseph Morrow. So Joe, would you come down? Yeah!
Getting permission to announce as well that in addition to the plaque, there's a check for $500. Congratulations, Joe. The American Legion Citizenship Awards presentation will be made by Mr. Raymond W. Meyer of Beverly Hills Post 407. Mr. Meyer.
Linda Robertson. For 4 years, and this year is also president of Student Council, a member of the board of directors of the Kiwanis Club, a sophomore. She received the Hugh O'Brien Youth Foundation Award, and this year was chosen to receive the Daughters of the American Revolution Good Citizen Award. She will major in English and pre-law program this fall at the University of Michigan. The second award is Chirag Loka. Chirag is an Illinois State Scholarship and commended student in National Merit Competition and has been elected to membership in the Cum Laude Society and the National Honor Society. He holds varsity letters in soccer, baseball. Chirag will major in biology or chemistry this fall as a pre-med student at Boston University. Thank you.
You notice Chirag's cap and tassel are both gold. The gold cap mortarboard symbolizes membership in the Cum Laude Society, and the gold tassel represents membership in the National Honor Society. The next presentation will be made by William McMahon, representative from Southwest Kiwanis.
The Kiwanis Club of Southwest Chicago is proud to present the Henry W. Kennedy Kiwanis Distinguished Service Award, and I would like to take this opportunity also to acknowledge two former members of our Kiwanis Club, Henry Lee and Martin Wolf, who were both faculty advisors, are also now members of the Morgan Park Academy Hall of Fame, and we are delighted with that. This year's award is given to a senior and a Distinguished Service Certificate and a $250 scholarship, and to an individual who had exhibited exceptional leadership, character, and services to the club, school, and community, and was selected by the faculty advisor and 4 student representatives from the Key Club Board of Directors, and this year's winner is Michael Daniel Leibowitz.
The Gene Landon Taylor Scholarship Award is presented each year on behalf of the Alumni Association. The recipient is chosen by vote of the upper school faculty and is presented in recognition of academic achievement, citizenship, and participation in school activities. The award is named in honor of Gene Landon Taylor, who served as instructor in English and head of the English department of Morgan Park Military Academy from 1929 through 1945. Captain Taylor's scholarship and his extensive involvement in numerous student activities are recognized and honored through this award. We're very happy to request or ask that Roy Schoenbrod make the presentation of the Gene Landon Taylor Alumni Award.
The Gene Landon Taylor Scholarship Award is presented each year on behalf of the Alumni Association. The recipient is chosen by vote of the upper school faculty and is presented in recognition of academic achievement, citizenship, and participation in school activities. The award is named in honor of Gene Landon Taylor, who served as instructor in English and head of the English department at Morgan Park Military Academy from 29 through 45. Captain Taylor's scholarship and his extensive involvement in numerous student activities are recognized and honored through this award. I have the honor to present this to Marshall Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Schoenrod. Marshall has been awarded the Provost Scholarship at Case Western Reserve, where he will undertake studies in chemical engineering. A commended student in the National Achievement Scholarship Program for Outstanding Negro Students, Marshall was last year's winner of the I Dare You Leadership Award. He is president of the National Honor Society and a member of Cum Laude Society, and holds varsity letters in basketball. The program lists Bill Collins' name as president of the Fathers Club. At an election just within the last week or two, a new president was elected, and we're happy to have with us Mr. Tom Strasser, the new president of the Fathers Club, who will make the presentation of the Fathers Club Scholarship Award. Mr. Strasser.
Father's Scholarship Award is presented to an outstanding senior in recognition of scholastic excellence, citizenship, and participation in school activities. This year's winner, Karuti Tirati, she can come up, was the Honor Scholarship winner of her class and is the National Merit Scholarship.
Illinois State Scholar. She's editor-in-chief of the school newspaper and has held class offices for 4 years. She has received the Stephens College Award for Women last year. She is, as well as the Washington University Book Award, and won first place in the awards in biology and English in the Junior Engineering Technology Society competition. Karuti has been elected to membership in the Cum Laude and National Honor Society. Admitted as an early candidate, she will study philosophy at Princeton University.
Harry D. Abel's American Flag and Plaque is the award presented to the salutatorian of the senior class. The award includes an American flag, the flag that has been flying thus far in the ceremony, and members of the junior class and student council have lowered the flag. It also includes a plaque
and a medallion. This award is named in honor of Colonel Harry Delmont Abels, who joined the faculty at Morgan Park Military Academy, actually Morgan Park Academy, under William Rainey Harper in 1898.
Colonel Abels taught chemistry and physics, and in the difficult and troubled years for the school between 1907 and 1914, he served either solely or jointly as head of the institution. He was instrumental in the recognition of the school in 1914, reorganization of the school in 1914, and he served officially as superintendent of Morgan Park Military Academy from 1917 until his retirement in 1945. Colonel Abels passed away in 1957. We're very happy to make this presentation today to the salutatorian of the senior class, Michael Danielewicz. The Hayden E. Jones Cup and Plaque presented each year to the valedictorian of the senior class. Lieutenant Colonel Jones turned down an opportunity to play for the Chicago Cubs in favor of completing graduate studies at the University of Chicago. He joined the faculty of Morgan Park Academy as instructor in Latin and history in 1899, while the academy was part of the University of Chicago. In 1907, he joined with Colonel Abels in reorganizing the school as Morgan Park Military Academy. And from 1919 until 1946, he served as assistant superintendent of the institution. This campus bowl area was named in his honor in 1937. Contrary to what is sometimes thought, Jones Bowl was not named after me. Lieutenant Colonel Jones was working at his desk preparing a student transcript in July of 1946 when he suffered a fatal heart attack and died at the age of 78. This highest award has been named in his honor. I'm happy to make the presentation of the Hayden E. Jones Cup and Plaque to the valedictorian of the senior class, Deepa Matthew. We will have Deepa's name inscribed along with the names of others already on this plaque. And Deepa, you may borrow it for a few days and have your picture taken with it if you'd like, but we would like to have it returned thereafter. We'll now have the presentation of the diplomas of graduation to the class of 1996. I would like to say first that the awards of diplomas will be presented by Mr. Roger Liss, who has served for 3 years as chairman or president of the Board of Trustees of Morgan Park Academy, and more years than that as a trustee of the institution. This is his final year as president of the board. And I would like to publicly express my deep appreciation for the work that Mr. Liss has done on behalf of Morgan Park Academy and in support of the institution. Azir Muhammad Ali. Maya Paloma Alvarez. Mangaya Arkarasi Arumagam. Ronald Frank Bartman.